Hey guys, it's The Way I Heard It, episode number 214, and this one's called There's a Fine Line Between a Hero and an Asshole. That's a direct quote, by the way, from a cop I know back in Baltimore, a highly decorated cop who, after decades on the job and multiple commendations, had come to the inescapable conclusion that many people who do brave and heroic things, himself included, were in fact the very same people whose daily behavior and attitude are consistent with that of an asshole. I was reminded of his observation during the course of my conversation with today's guest, an unrepentant smartass and former staff sergeant in the Army named Travis Mills. Travis lost his arms and his legs in Afghanistan, but not his sense of humor. He has since gone on to not only recover from his wounds, but thrive. And today, Travis Mills is described by everybody as a true American hero. Everybody, that is, but Travis Mills, who still insists that his actions over there were nothing more than those of a common soldier doing his job. Anyway, Travis is here because last week on my Facebook page, somebody asked me, in the wake of our sudden and shocking withdrawal from Afghanistan, if I thought the war was worth it. I responded by posting a photo of Travis and me and said that his opinion, and the opinions of those Americans who had actually fought on my behalf, were the only opinions I was interested in hearing at that time. Well, Travis saw my post and offered to share his thoughts, not just on leaving Afghanistan, but on heroism in general. And I'm glad he did. Because when it comes to our heroes today, I'm starting to wonder if maybe like Inigo Montoya from A Princess Bride, I'm starting to wonder if that word no longer means what I think it means. Last month, for instance, when Simone Biles withdrew from the Olympics, there was another lively chat on my Facebook page about the nature of her decision. Was she really a hero, as many people argued, for bravely stepping away from a situation that she felt unprepared to face? Or was she a selfish coward, as others suggested, for putting her own interests before those of her team? Personally, I don't think Simone Biles is either one of those things, but I was struck by the fact that there was no middle ground. She couldn't simply be a talented athlete under unthinkable stress who had to make a tough decision. No, she had to be either celebrated as a hero or condemned as a villain. Nothing in between would do. And of course, Simone Biles is not alone. Everybody, it seems, even our ancestors, has to be weighed and measured nowadays. Many Americans look at statues of Washington and Jefferson, and they see nothing but two patriots who made America possible. Many others look at those same statues and see nothing but two rich white guys who prospered from the labor of slaves. On the one hand, I think we've made it virtually impossible for our heroes to remain heroic by holding them to standards that didn't exist when they were alive. And on the other hand, I think we've redefined the word so broadly that today anybody can be a hero to anybody, which begs the obvious question, can somebody still be a hero to everybody? I think the answer is yes, and I have two candidates for your consideration. Along with the aforementioned Travis Mills, you will hear the true story of a Marine who deserted his post during the height of the Second World War, an admitted liar, a forger, and a stowaway, a real asshole, some might say, who was caught red-handed, demoted to buck private, and very nearly sent to prison for his rank insubordination. Instead, this demoted deserter was sent into battle, where his actions earned him the Congressional Medal of Honor. One other thing before we begin. After last week's episode, I invited you guys to tell me in what direction you'd like to see this podcast evolve, assuming you'd like to see it evolve at all. Well, the feedback was voluminous and pretty close to unanimous. While a few of you would still prefer that I go back to writing 6-minute stories for the curious mind with a short attention span, the overwhelming majority have encouraged me to welcome more guests, like Travis Mills, to discuss either the details of an old story from the library or the details of a new story, if I ever get around to writing more of those, or the details of any topic that interests me. There seems to be genuine enthusiasm for this extended format, and though it pains me to admit it, there seems to be a similar enthusiasm for Chuck, my old friend and preternaturally pedantic producer who continues to worm his way into more and more of these conversations. And so, for now anyway, I think I'll sally forth with the same basic approach with a few minor tweaks. With that in mind, here's the true story of a demoted deserter who performed above and beyond the call of duty, followed by a conversation that just might cross that fine line between heroes and assholes. This is the way I heard it.
The young Marine standing before the ship's commander was a liar and a forger. Happily, the commander didn't know that. On the downside, this Marine was also a deserter and a stowaway, both of which the commander understood all too well. Now let me get this straight, son. You left your unit in Hawaii a month ago. Just walked off the base without a word to anybody. Yes, sir. What's your full name? Private First Class Jack Lucas. Wrong, the commander snapped. You're not a PFC anymore. Your commanding officer busted you back to private right before he put a bounty on your head. You're a deserter, son. A demoted deserter. And you are in a world of trouble. The young man looked straight ahead as the commander took a final drag off his cigarette and stubbed it out. And now you're telling me that you've stowed away on my ship because you want to fight on Iwo Jima? Yes, sir. And why in the hell would you want to do that? Former Private First Class Jack Lucas shifted his gaze to meet his commander's and held it as he spoke. I didn't join the Marines to push paper in a supply depot, sir. I've been riding a desk for 3 years. Let them punish me if that's what they got to do. But let me fight first. The commander could have sent this demoted deserter straight to the brig and then back to the States for a trial, a dishonorable discharge, and some mandatory prison time. But he knew that Charlie Company would need all the help they could get on Iwo Jima. And whatever else he was, the Marine standing before him didn't seem like a coward. We land in 5 days, said the commander. You want to fight? I'll take you to a fight. Dismissed. 5 days later, the expeditionary force was on the island, making their way inland, where the enemy was hunkered down in a vast warren of tunnels and reinforced bunkers. Jack and 3 other riflemen were picking their way down a steep ravine when 11 Japanese soldiers popped up from a nearby trench and opened fire, sending the Marines diving for cover. 11 against 4. Their odds were horrible, but the Marines fought with everything they had, and soon it was 10 against 4, and then 9 against 4, and then 8 against 4. But then 2 hand grenades arced through the air and landed in the soft volcanic ash just a few yards from Jack and right in the midst of his fellow Marines. Jack didn't hesitate. He dove over the men and onto the first grenade, smothering it under his body. The second grenade he grabbed with his free hand and held it tightly to his chest, shielding the rifleman as best he could. A moment later, the first explosion lifted Jack off the ground, sending bits of flesh and uniform flying into the air. The second explosion never happened. Then the Japanese soldiers charged, and the remaining 3 Marines killed them all in a furious hail of machine gun fire. Jack was left for dead, which, by all appearances, he clearly was. But of course, appearances can be deceiving. In fact, it was Jack's appearance that got him in the Corps in the first place. You see, when Jack enlisted 3.5 years earlier, he appeared to be the perfect recruit, 180 pounds of solid muscle with a burning desire to avenge the outrage of Pearl Harbor. He was only 17 at the time, a year below the minimum age, but his mother had signed the mandatory enlistment waiver, so the Marines took him. Only problem was, Jack had forged his mom's signature, And when the truth came out, he was given the choice of either going back home or riding a desk for the next 4 years. Maybe, as he lay there in a pool of his own blood, face down in the mud 7,000 miles from home, Jack reconsidered the cost of his various insubordinations. Maybe, but I doubt it, because there was something else about Jack's resolve worth noting. You see, Jack's mom had refused to sign that enlistment waiver because she knew the truth about her son. She knew that Jack was not 17 when he enlisted, nor was he 16, nor was he 15. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Jack Lucas was a 13-year-old boy, a boy who decided right then and there to fight for his country. That's why he forged his mother's name. That's why he lied to his superiors, deserted his post, and stowed away on a transport ship. That's why, at 14 years of age, he became the youngest Marine to ever wear the uniform. That's why, when he finally turned 17, Jack Lucas became the youngest Marine since the Civil War to receive the Medal of Honor. And that's also why, on his 80th birthday, Jack Lucas looked back on his illustrious career in a way that few survivors can, as the only member of the United States Armed Forces to ever be recognized for bravery and valor above and beyond the call of duty while fighting as a demoted deserter. Anyway, that's the way I heard it.
Here's a quick word about QuickBooks. They ain't quick. If you run a business, you know what I'm talking about. QuickBooks will slow you down with manual processes, integration difficulties, all kinds of glitchy delays that leaves you scrambling for the numbers you need. Now is the time to make the switch to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 financial system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce. It's everything you need to grow, and it's all in one place. And unlike QuickBooks, it's quick. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time, no matter how big your business grows. Don't get stuck trying to make sense of your books while your competitors sprint ahead. 93% of surveyed businesses have increased their visibility and control since switching to NetSuite, and you should too. Better still, special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program only for those ready to switch today. Check it out at netsuite.com/Mike. That's special financing at netsuite.com/Mike. netsuite.com/Mike. I first heard about Jack Lucas from Secretary of State George Shultz at the Marine Corps Ball, which I attend every year here in San Francisco. About 7 or 8 years ago, Secretary Shultz was the keynote speaker, and afterwards, we had a fun chat about dirty jobs, which I was flattered to learn he watched. He was a Marine himself, of course, Secretary Shultz was, and had seen plenty of his own dirty jobs, had lots of stories, and we shared a few that night over a beer. And somewhere in the course of our conversation, he told me about Jack Lucas, and a few years later, when this podcast became a thing, I wrote the story you just heard for Veterans Day. As always, though, there's a lot more to learn if you want to take a deeper dive, and I recommend that you do. As I was researching this tale, I came across his memoir. It's called Indestructible. Jack Lucas's memoir is, and man, what a life. What a life this guy lived. I mean, what happened on Iwo Jima obviously helped define him, but afterwards, he went into business briefly, was an entrepreneur, and then he kind of retired from that and went back in the service. And in 1961, he was training to be a paratrooper. And on one of his early training jumps, he went out of the plane at about 15,000 feet, and his main parachute didn't open. And then his backup chute failed to open, or at least it didn't open properly. By all accounts, this guy hit the ground like a lawn dart, but somehow survived the impact. And Lucas credits his survival. Let me read exactly what he says. To my stocky build and my last-minute decision to roll. Who survives falling out of a plane with no parachute? Unbelievable. But it gets even better. A few years later, his house burns down, like all of it, and he barely escapes with his life. And then his wife, at the time, attempts to have him murdered. I mean, you can't make it up. This is probably why his memoir is called Indestructible. Jack Lucas finally died on June 5th, 2008 in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and he is still the youngest Medal of Honor recipient since the Civil War. Travis Mills, on the other hand, who you are about to meet, is alive and well and causing all sorts of trouble wherever he goes, including on this podcast. Travis calls himself a recalibrated warrior, and he is certainly that. Other people call him a motivational speaker, an actor, an author, and a tireless advocate for veterans and amputees. His memoir is called Tough as They Come, and it's a New York Times bestseller. His motto is never give up, never quit. And believe me when I tell you, it's a motto he lives by. Travis is one of only 5 quadruple amputees from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan to survive his injuries. And he's a real hero and a real piece of work. Quick story before we begin. I met Travis in 2014 in D.C. He was speaking at something called the Science and Engineering Festival, and so was I. There were about 250,000 people at this event, and lots of different stages, right, all over the convention center. Travis was somewhere in the middle on a pretty small stage, talking to a relatively small group of people. I, on the other hand, was all the way on the far side of the convention center talking to a few thousand people. And after my speech, I had to get to the opposite end of the convention center to talk to another big crowd. So I've got this security detail who's like running me through tens of thousands of people. It was kind of obnoxious, honestly. People were getting pushed aside, and I felt like an asshole, running through a crowd so I can get onto the stage. When out of nowhere, some guy appears who says, "Hey, Mike Rowe, I got a guy who wants to say hello to you." I don't know how he got past my security, but he did. And suddenly he's like running with me. And I'm like, "Well, who is he?" And he says, "His name's Travis, and he really wants to meet you." And I said, "Well, get him over here. I can't stop." And he said, "Well, it'd be simpler if you came to him." And I said, "What, are his legs broken?" And this guy says, "Well, not exactly." And there was something in the way he said "not exactly" that made me stop and say, "Okay, where is this guy?" And he leads me behind a curtain. My security detail follows me, and there's Travis Mills sitting in this chair. And he stands up to say hello. But he doesn't really stand up. He kind of unfolds, He's got 2 prosthetic legs and a giant smile and no arm on the right side of his body and a prosthetic left arm. And it just takes my breath away, when you see somebody like that you're not expecting to see for the first time. But he comes like lurching toward me, just smiling and full of enthusiasm, saying, "Mike Rowe, my God, I'm so honored to meet you. I just wanted to tell you that for 2 tours in Afghanistan, we watched your show all the time. Are you going to do more dirty jobs? What was your favorite dirty job? What was the worst dirty job?" And for like 15 minutes, this guy wants to know all about me. Doesn't talk about himself at all. He just wants to talk about me. And I just remember feeling like such an asshole for being in such a hurry, to suddenly being so completely humbled by a guy who had sacrificed so much for my account, on my behalf, Anyway, we've been friends ever since. Every time I talk to him, he tries to get me an endorsement deal. I don't know why. I think he saw me do a bunch of work for Ford, and now I'm not working for Ford, and I think he thinks I need a job. I, on the other hand, am trying to get him his own reality show, because the guy is a reality show. I got him on Returning the Favor, surprised him a couple of years ago with a ropes course that we put there at his retreat up in Maine. And like I said, we've been friends ever since. I'm a huge fan of what he's done with his life and what he continues to do, and I can't wait for you to meet him. He's my friend, former Staff Sergeant Travis Mills.
Do you want to get paid to wear jeans and make your butt look good?
I did that once about 10 years ago. My ass now looks like 2 pounds of chewed gum, so I don't know if it's going to work, but
have you?
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
So if you want, I can give you his email, and then that way you can have your team reach out and see what they're thinking.
My team.
If you want, but yeah, don't pretend. Let's not do this. Let's not pretend like you don't have a team.
My team's on the call right now. Team
He's
Chuck.
a good-looking team too.
Yeah, with his pink freaking microphone. Unbelievable.
There's nothing wrong with that. I got this one. Shit.
Why aren't you jamming your fabulous ass into these jeans, though, and rocking
you know
it in
me.
the free world?
I don't wear pants. You know I don't wear pants. I tell you, the one good thing about COVID, I mean, hell, I'm in my underwear right now. You guys don't even know.
I'm wrapped in bubble pack. I've never felt more free.
Exactly. I'm just hanging out. I mean, I got the shirt on and I'm good to go. I put the COVID-19 pounds on for sure.
Chuck, have we officially started?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Oh, good. So people have an image of naked Travis Mills seared into their retina.
I'm being real, buddy. I got on my chubby shorts and my thighs are looking good.
Dude, you have, if nothing else, you have always been real. I have known you now since, was it 2014? We met in D.C.?
Yeah, that's when I went against Bill Nye, the science guy, at a science convention. And luckily, he had the big stage. And everybody had to walk past him, and they stopped to listen to me. So I took all of his fans at a science convention. Winning.
Good. I love it. You know what? I did something on stage with him there as well. I don't know. What did you think of him? What's your take on Bill?
Oh, no, I didn't meet him. My stage was a small stage for Lockheed Martin. He was on the big grand stage where you got to play on because obviously you're famous. But
kind of
the truth is people had to walk past me to get to him. So whenever he was up, I was up, and I told everybody. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good because, I mean, whatever. It's what I do.
Well, first things first, how you doing? How have you weathered the last year and a half? It's super weird for everybody. Is it doubly weird for you somehow?
I'll tell you what, I do the motivational speaking, and I travel around this wonderful nation of ours, and that came to a screeching halt. So I did a lot of virtual ones. And if you ever talked into a camera, which you probably have, but that had no reaction from the people on the other side when you're trying to tell jokes, I'm like, hey guys, first thing you need about me is number one, I'm awesome. And I'm humble. And I'm like, do they even get, and I'm just sitting there at the camera, staring at it. And I'm live, so I just move on. But I got a lot more time with my family than I thought I was going to have, which is really cool. And my daughter's turning 10. My son just turned 4 on this past Tuesday. So, yeah, very, very blessed man, I put on COVID-19 pounds, so that sucked. I got to work on that. It's this
Did
whole
you do 19 pounds?
I don't know if it's 19 yet, but I'm on that manana diet, and it doesn't seem to ever work for me.
How's that work, the manana diet?
It's always tomorrow.
Started tomorrow.
Yeah.
I was on that diet for years. It was great.
Yeah.
Years.
Good fun.
I mean, I'm nailing it.
Okay, so Kelsey's good?
Kelsey is good. Yep, Kelsey is doing fantastic. She likes the kids, not so much me, but that's to be expected because it's me. But no, we're doing really well. We the foundation is growing. We have a $6 million build going on starting September 11th. We're having a big gala, and then September 12th is the open house. Yeah, the house is open for open house. We just get through 9 weeks of families coming out, and we also started a post-traumatic stress program. So, we're just rocking and rolling and keep on going with it.
Is the ropes course still there from Returning the Favor?
It's still there. Of course it's still there. It's everyone's favorite. And matter of fact, let me tell you something. So Kelsey and I, I can't blend in, because it's my smile that gives me away. Whenever I go anywhere, they're like, oh my gosh, that's Travis Mills. I can tell by his smile. And when they say that, I'm like, that's what gave me away for sure. It had to be these pearly whites. But Kelsey blends in, and she likes to blend in. And she would rather blend in. So we have families, and we go out and meet them usually. And Kelsey actually is a ropes coordinator. She goes out there and she coordinates the rope course. And she was so afraid of it at first. And now she's just like a monkey running around. And one lady had to get rescued, and she got to the ground. The lady was all flustered. She goes, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. I'm so glad Kelsey and Travis aren't here to see this. And then she looked at Kelly and goes, well, when's Kelsey and Travis getting here? And Kelly, my chief operating officer now, but Kelly looks over and goes, that's Kelsey right there. And the lady was almost in tears, this is embarrassing. I didn't even. And Kelsey's like, I'm not sure what, I'm a regular everyday person. So don't even worry about it. But it's going well.
Good. Just to help the listener out, I used to do the show Returning the Favor on Facebook, and we got to that point where, I realized I could kind of steer the direction of the show if I wanted to. So I suggested Travis as a potential honoree. And dude, you were so great. And what you have done up there in Maine was so, it's inspirational. I'm not going to blow sunshine. You've heard it all. But it was fun to watch those TV people get a load of you and then turn to me and say, how many more guys do you know like this? It's a pretty short list.
Well, I still got my cool tricks. Like, that still doesn't hurt. My hand goes around 360. So that's good. So
you realize this is a podcast, right? And people can't see you doing these terribly hysterical sight gags, right?
You realize that you're a narrator with one of the greatest voices ever known in mankind history. So I figured you would explain exactly so people could close their eyes and just imagine exactly as you paint that most beautiful picture like Picasso. But okay,
let's do that.
I'm sorry.
No. You make a great point. Let's all use our let's all use our requisite talents. Close your eyes, listener, and imagine, if you will, Travis Mills ever so gently defying the laws of physics as his prosthetic left hand slowly rotates in a fashion that is completely and entirely inconsistent with the skeleton that God gave us.
That's right. Your mouth just dropped wide open, and then you started to giggle and laugh at the thought of this most ridiculous movement. Anyway, I'm sorry. So, look, you champion. Life treating you good? I mean, you never probably get asked that. What's going on with you? What's fresh, fun, and exciting?
Look, it's great. I mean, you and I actually weirdly occupy a big chunk of the old Venn diagram. I do a lot of this thing where I sit here in my bunker and I tell stories. We've pivoted and done as good a job as we can, I think, at keeping the speaking thing going. Lots of Zoom TV. But we've also been out in the real world shooting the old-fashioned way as well. So it's been a total mixed bag. I thought of you, and I wanted to reach out, well, frankly, because I think of you almost constantly, all of the time.
Not weird at all.
No, it's just the COVID wardrobe. I wonder if that's what got him on the.
That's
Could
it.
be. The talk of your thighs earlier, I think, is what did it.
Yeah, your well-muscled thighs is
that Linda Blair move with the left hand is also.
No, man, you've been on my mind because you're kind of a torture in the sense that I have never come across anybody where I've been so certain that they need to have a hit TV show in prime time. And the fact that show does not yet exist has become a pebble in my shoe, a thorn in my side.
Well, I'm ready for it, buddy. I'm ready.
I know you are.
We're putting a brewery in right now. I'm putting a brewery right next door to that marina. I have 180 boat slips now. We've grown from 77 to 180. I got a cafe we run. We just bought $130,000 of brand new Avalon pontoon boats. And me and Zach still have no idea what we're doing. It's the most chaotic mayhem you've ever seen. It's like, what are these morons doing?
I'm going to circle back and hit this again at the end of our conversation, but let me just get it out of the way now. Anybody in Hollywood who fancies themselves a producer or who works for some organization that fancies themselves a network, the reality show of reality shows is happening right now at a place in Maine with a guy who lost all four, 3.5. How do you even describe the loss? All four limbs, gone. Yeah. But now he's back without a trace of self-pity, running a bait shop in a hotel and doing God knows what else on a lake up in Maine with his crazy friend, Zach. I'm telling you, it's TV gold. And if we don't get the cameras up there, stat. I just don't know that we're going to be able to live with our collective selves.
I mean, I'm putting in one of the coolest breweries around. It's getting built, opens in October. I'm back to speaking. It's funny. I opened a brewery and I'm also on the road 23 of 31 days in October. I'll tell you what, it's crazy. But I appreciate you saying that because I want to be famous because I see how cool you are. And I'm like, man, if one day I could just get close to being as cool as Mike Rowe. I mean, this guy is so, dude. You talk about the posters on the wall when you're in high school. Kelsey's weirded out by the 3 I have on my wall with you on them right now in my bedroom. But I don't know why she's weirded out by it. It makes sense to me.
Quick question. Have you ever used incognito mode on your computer to protect your privacy? Well, guess what? Incognito mode does not work. Sorry, but it's true. Doesn't matter if you get your internet from Verizon or Comcast or any other ISP in the United States. All of them can still see every site you visit, and all of them can legally sell your information to ad companies. That's why, even when I'm home, I never go online anymore without using ExpressVPN. This is an app that reroutes your internet connection through secure servers so your ISP can't see where you go online. All you have to do is tap one button and you're protected. It works on all your devices, phones, computers, even your smart TV, which I'm sorry to say is too smart for your own good. Protect your online activity today with the VPN rated #1 by CNET and Wired. Visit expressvpn.com/row and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/row, expressvpn.com/row to learn more. Chuck, did you send him the story of Jack Lucas?
As a matter of fact, I did, yes.
Did. How impressive. At first I'm like, this turd went AWOL? Ooh, write him up. Send him back, leaving his guys for a month to hide on a ship. But then you hear the whole story, like, that is impressive. Like, that's dedication. And then you got people now that words hurt. Oh, I need to time out my words. They hurt me. So, am I not supposed to say that? Probably not. I'm sorry.
Dude, as you know, you have permission to say anything you want, do anything you want.
I feel free.
Well, last I checked.
Yeah.
But you know what? There are a lot of people on my current Facebook thread. And again, this is the other reason I wanted you on. A, we got to get you a TV show. B, you're on my mind as I read the headlines about Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminded me of Jack Lucas, one of the bravest people I know, and one of the people who actually you can call a hero without like blushing or wondering if you're using the word wrong. So I want to talk to you about all that stuff. And I don't care what order it comes out in. It's just that there's nobody else I know who's more uniquely qualified to talk about all of that stuff in whatever way you want. But there are thousands of people on my little Facebook page right now who are trying to answer the same basic question that must have gone through your mind at some point in your odyssey. Was it worth it? Is it worth it? What the hell are we doing? Ladies and gentlemen, the thoughts of Travis Mills.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I got a ton of them too. So in all honesty, it was definitely worth the struggle that we did. I do feel like that needs to be said. I think the service members out there that are suffering, that are wondering what was it all for, the guys that ended up like me, there's families out there that lost their loved ones, whether it was overseas or maybe they came back and they had crippling PTSD and, took their own life, because that is an issue now. I think it's important that people realize, like, no, we did good. We did a lot of good. We built hospitals and schools. We provided medical care throughout the region. We showed them a way to a free country. And at the end of the day, the fairy tale stories that you see in Hollywood that always come out, the underdog wins. This is not one of those stories. This is not the one that it's all going to go the way that we planned. And unfortunately, it took us 20 years to get out of there. I sat in the Oval Office with President Trump, a couple of years back. He asked me, hey, do you think we can win the war in Afghanistan? And I said, what answer do you want? Do you want the real one or do you want the one you get told? He said, I would rather have you be very candid and tell me the truth. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, you're never going to win it. And he was like, huh. I said, you're fighting an ideology. You're not fighting these conventional army. I mean, look at Iraq. It fell in 3 days. Conventional army fell in 3 days to us. And then all of the, ISIS and Caliphate and Taliban and Al-Qaeda and all the people we were fighting, they all just did their own little things. And the Taliban have fought like we fought in the Revolutionary War since day one with the Russians and all the way back through history. So when the administration now is like 11 days, that's insane. The Taliban lived amongst the people. They always have. The same guy that you waved at working his field, that waved at you, just went out with his buddies earlier that morning and shot at you. And you can't prove it. And if you could prove it, if you didn't do it right, they'll let him go. The guy that blew me up, Mike, we had him captured, him and 3 of his buddies. We went 10 clicks walking back, 10 kilometers back to our base after raiding this compound and getting him 400 or 600 pounds of homemade explosives, AK-47s, RPGs, right? Knew they were bad. But because we didn't take pictures with them and all this stuff, the Afghan national government let them go.
Oh,
we did put them through the HIDE system, it's called. We got their irises scanned. We got their fingerprint scanned. So when I hit my bomb, there was 13 in a row. I hit one of them. The other 12, as my unit found them safely and took them back and got them all forensic analysts on them, they found that the guy that we had captured, that we had to let go, his fingerprints were all over him. So I let the guy go. That blew me up. That's what we were facing over there. So I told President Trump, I said, the one thing you can do if you're not willing to bring everybody home is you can open up the rules of engagement, because it was a sad state of affairs. I went under President Bush, where I was able to do what I had to do to come back home. I went under President Obama with President Bush's war tactics and his rules of engagement. And then I went under President Obama with President Obama's administration's tactics. And at that point, you realize, what are we doing here? I couldn't go out at nighttime. The president of Afghanistan told our administration it made his people feel scared. So then the Taliban gets freedom of movement throughout the whole entire region at nighttime. And we can't drop mortars. We can't go out at nighttime and get them. We just watch them put bombs in the ground and hope we don't step on them. Unfortunately, I stepped on one. So I do agree that there needed to be a withdrawal from Afghanistan. There was no war that we were going to win over there. There wasn't. Osama bin Laden getting shot in 11 probably was like, all right, cool. We did it. We showed them we're here to, let's party if you want to party. And the one thing you can say is there was no attacks on our home soil. Now, why would they do the withdrawal before September 11th? Makes no sense to me. Why not wait till like October, November, a less significant time in our history and their history with us? But truthfully, we own 7 bases. Kandahar and Bagram are air bases strategically placed in the region. We should have kept those. We kept places in South Korea, in Germany, in Italy, and everywhere we fought. Yeah. And for some reason, we give back those 2. And now everybody's trying to get to Kabul, to a small, tiny airport. I mean, I'm rambling and I apologize, but no, I think we should have left. But the way it was done it's just ridiculous. And then I'm seeing on the news, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, you never can tell, that they might go and actually have bombers bomb our equipment that we have over there. Do you know how much bombs actually cost the American people? Do you know how much the equipment costs the American people? And now we're going to use our own taxpayer dollars to blow that up? Like this, it's out of control. And to blame it all on the Afghan nationals that didn't stand and fight, the army wasn't paid for like 7 months. And the diplomats, what support did they have? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm on a soapbox. I don't mean to be angry either, because I think it's important that people know, like, we did good over there. It was time to leave. I'm mad about the execution of how we left. I think it was not well thought out and pretty ridiculously dumb. And now we're seeing all of it unfold in front of our eyes. And you have people out there questioning, was it worth it? And I never questioned, was it worth losing my arms and legs? Because I don't ask, why did I lose them anymore? I'm so fortunate, my wife, my family, the foundation, the work that we do, and to still be here. And I lost really good friends. And I think I honor them every day by not giving up on myself. And I think it's selfish if I ever, thought a different way, because they lost so much to not come back to their families, whereas I'm here with my family thriving.
How does it feel to you when you hear this 4-letter word thrown around that starts with an H and ends with a eero? I'm really interested in the way individuals process that word, and I'm somewhat dismayed by the way it gets thrown around to describe what we used to just call role models or just people we like.
Yeah.
What did you see over there that struck you as truly heroic?
I mean, people call me an American hero, right? And I appreciate it, but I'm like, I did nothing special. I don't deserve to be called a hero. I've done things overseas that were heroic. I ran into a firefight, picked a guy up. I tossed my M4 and my first sergeant ran down to a dry riverbed because the guy he tore his MCL, ACL, and meniscus and all this stuff in his knee and couldn't move. And we're getting heavy fire, and they wanted to give me awards and stuff. And I said, no, don't worry about it. I was doing my job. So when people say, like, it's so heroic, I mean, they use hero for everything. I mean, they call soccer players in the Olympics heroes. And that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. You gotta be kidding me. So it's lost its meaning. If you use a word too much, it loses its meaning. So there's things that are heroic and there's things that are just your job, and there's things that you can do really well and you can get praised for them, but it doesn't mean you have to be called, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm saying what I need to say or the right things. I just want to make you proud of me. I want to make you so proud of me.
Would you shut up? For God's sake, dude, you don't understand. Look, everybody that I've ever met needs to have somebody in their life that gives them some kind of a gut check. And I think part of the reason you Forrest Gumped your way into a pretty interesting situation right now is because you can do that. Like, you can walk into a room and everybody just has to take a big sip of shut the hell up with your problems because this guy has a story and we have to hear it. I know that you know that, but I'm curious as to who in your life does that for you? Who do you look at? You've written an amazing book that's made it really hard for people to feel sorry for themselves. That's what I mean to say. Who in your world has done that for you?
I mean, it's going to, if she listens to this, it's going to sound great for me, but I don't just say it because it sounds great. My wife, right? My wife and the spouses out there of guys that ended up like me, because my wife, I gave her the option to take everything we had and go. And I encouraged her to do that. And she was like, no, we're not doing that. And her life now is, putting up with me, which with arms and legs was a lot, but without arms and legs, but that's someone that inspires me to do better every day. My kids as well.
Tell me if I got this right. The first conversation we had back in 2014, I asked for the short version of your story. And I think you told me that your wife was your corpsman's sister over there in like one of your first or second tours.
Yep. First deployment. My medic went home to watch his daughter be born. His little sister sent a MySpace friend request. And
MySpace? What the hell is MySpace?
I know. So
you crazy kids,
songs and everything. So MySpace friend request came in. She was 18 in college. I was 20 in Afghanistan. I had a decision to make. Do I make my medic mad and hit accept, or do I hit decline? And then I broke it down to like, if there's one thing in life I'm really good at, it's antagonizing people. And what I mean by that is when I got injured, right, when I was blown up, my mom was talking to me about my hospital bed. I said, Mom, why'd this happen? And she said, well, karma. So if that tells you anything. But I'm just kidding, obviously. But yeah, we went to Cozumel, Mexico. First time we ever met. Like I flew in from my deployment. I had overseas 11.5 months. I had 3 more months to go. I had 18-day R&R. I flew into Dallas to pick her up, and we flew up to Mexico together. Her parents were not impressed, but I was 6'3", 275, and she was a rebel, and we just did what we wanted. So then I flew back.
You were 275?
Oh yeah. They have these supplements you can get when you're overseas working out. They're good. Yeah. I had 22-inch arms, and I was like, "What's up? I have low self-esteem. I got to make myself look pretty." That's why I did. I lifted weights to build myself up, so I felt good about myself.
Yeah. So
that's all you can do. You go on patrols and you work out. So I worked out 3 hours a day while I was over there.
How long had you been married before you got blown up?
Just shy of 4 years.
Just shy of 4, and you had a kid on the way, or
No, Chloe was born. She was 4 months old when I deployed, and 6 months when I got injured. Kelsey and I, we met in my first deployment. I had to go for a year again, so I was gone for a year, and then I came back home. And then I had orders to take me somewhere else, and I just canceled them because my guys were going overseas, and she understood the calling of the brotherhood. So I canceled my orders because I told my sergeant major I got to deploy with my men, and I did deploy. So I was injured in April, and we got I guess the cat's out of the bag. We got married at the courthouse behind everybody's back on April 17th. We had a big wedding June 21st. So we celebrate the 21st. But the day I got back to, so I got smacked on the 10th. They medically sedated me on the operating table as they were pushing me through the hogs. I kept trying to sit up and yell at them to stop touching me. And my right arm, right leg were automatic. They were gone, right? My left leg was snapped to the bone. Like I was pretty mangled up. I kept sitting up using my left elbow. And they were like pushing me down. I'm like, stop touching me. I'm fine. Like, leave me alone. I got my feet under me. Get back to my guys. They're like, this dude's crazy. And like they knocked me out, and then they did all their surgeries and whatever. And on April 14th, they woke me up for the very first time and launched to Germany for my medical sedation. And that's my mom and dad's favorite day in their whole entire lives because their favorite child was born on April 14th. So my 25th birthday is when I woke up to find out what had happened to me. And then I arrived at Walter Reed on April 17th. And even though Kelsey and I never like discussed April 17th, like she was like, happy anniversary. I'm like, no, we don't talk about that. We'll talk about it in June. It was still a real wedding. We just had like a fake minister there. So like no one knew anything.
You hired an actor?
No, he was an ordained minister, but he wasn't like.
Oh, sure. Dude, I'm an ordained minister. That doesn't count.
I got one on the interwebs, I'm legit in two states.
Guy. We didn't have to sign any paperwork. We already did that. Like, so it was easy. They were like, you got cold feet? And I'm like, no. Now I do though. Oh man, they're dead and cold. Dude,
you're killing me.
That's what I said when the bomb hit me. I said, you're killing me.
Oy.
So there you are. If it's not the lowest point, it's got to be fairly low. And your wife says, no, this is not how that works. I'm not taking whatever's money's left. I'm sticking.
Yeah.
Was it relief or guilt primarily in that moment?
It's the guilt and the burden, right? Like I sit there and I wonder, like, what kind of life am I going to be able to have? Like who would want to stay with someone like me? Because I have people who help me use the bathroom. I have people feeding me because I don't have arms, and I'm sitting here going like, well, this is just, you have the real Forrest Gump, like Lieutenant Dan moment. And I know I'm friends with Gary Sinise, so I don't mean to bring him into the conversation, but at the same time, when Lieutenant Dan's like, I'm supposed to die on the field with my men, like that was like the glorious way to go out. And I'm sitting here in my bed going like, not suicidal. I need to make sure that's very clear. But the question is like, why didn't I just die? Like, how is this better? What is better about this than dying? And it took me not very long. I wasn't like I said, suicidal, but I was wondering like, what kind of life can I even have? And then you meet people with prosthetics. Your wife says she's going to stay with you, and your daughter's right there as your driving, motivator. My daughter and I learned how to walk together, and you realize the cool things you can do. And then my buddy the other day, he asked me, I had to take him somewhere, and my father-in-law has me get ready in the morning, usually not Kelsey. He was like, well, how come Kelsey wouldn't even help you get ready? I'm like, it's not that she wouldn't help me get ready. I said, I just prefer if she doesn't. He goes, well, why? It takes only like 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but if she helps me get ready, then I feel like I'm her patient rather than her husband. And she doesn't make me feel that way, but it's more of like a pride thing. It takes 3 minutes. Worst part, everybody asks, what's the hardest part of your day? And some people drink black coffee in the morning because it's disgusting. And I've been told it's like the worst part of their day, and they get out of the way at 6 a.m. And I'm like, yep, no, my black coffee has vanilla creamer in it. And that's the way it is. Judge if you will, Mr. Rowe. But
I bet I will. I will.
Yeah. Oh, please. But the truth is, getting my legs on, my arm on the proper way, it takes about 3 minutes, if that. And it's like the worst part of my day because that's the only thing I need help with. Now, I have a wheelchair and a van I can get around in just fine without anybody helping. But if I want to drive my truck and blend in as much as possible, like that's what it takes. And this is like the worst part of my day. And luckily it's only 3 minutes of my day, and I'm ready to go.
So to circle back, if you're not a hero in your own eyes, who is to you, and who in your world, aside from your wife, has done that for you simply by nature of the fact that they can fog a mirror, that they exist, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're not fishing for it, and I know that, so don't take it like I'm doing this kiss your butt. But the things with returning the favor and the work that you do and bringing light to blue collar jobs. I'm a blue collar kid. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a grocery store manager. She worked her way up from the deli at 18 to like running the whole entire place. And you shedding light on that and letting people know like, hey, it's okay. Like, I don't care what you think about blue collar jobs. Like, it works. And then coming out and helping with the ropes course and believing in my mission and championing my foundation forward. People like Gary Sinise didn't have to, but does everything he can. And there's people like that. And then, obviously they say police officers and school teachers and nurses and doctors and everybody in the community like that. And I do believe that. They're all doing their part and doing better, making, society a better place to be. I guess it's just your definition of hero. If you want military, or if you want people that are making a big change, or someone that dives into the water when a car goes underwater and tries to take care of it, And in my life, my biggest hero is probably my daughter, and I don't mean it to sound silly, but I don't think I'd be the same person without my daughter there. My 6-month-old laying on my chest and playing ball with me. I've only talked stern to my mother one time. Like, never have I ever like yelled at my mom. Not that she's like a big lady. She's 5'2", like 130 pounds. She's not scary at all. But I've never done that. And the one time I did, I woke up from a nap in the hospital and I said, oh, geez, how long was I out? She told me. I said, well, when's Chloe and Kelsey coming? And to visit, and my mom was like, well, they already came, but you were sleeping. And I looked at my mom and said, don't ever let me sleep through Chloe being here. She is the only reason it's worth getting better. And I truly felt that. Like, I was there to get better, and she was championing me forward. And now I have my son, who's 4. His name's Dax, after the medics, Daniel and Alexander. Made it possible for me to come back home. And I get my morning hug every morning. But he likes his mom better than me, which is really upsetting. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, here, play with matches or whatever. It's going to make me the cool dad. Like, so, I'm just kidding. But
no, you're not.
But you're not kidding. I have the ability to keep going on in life, and there's really just no reason why I should let my injuries hold me back or get me down, because I've been given the gift of life and the ability to keep pushing forward. So those that sacrificed before me, and those medics and doctors and nurses that worked on me, that kept me alive, I feel like hopefully I'm honoring them and their sacrifices, because those medics and doctors and nurses, they would loosen up just one tourniquet. Within 2 minutes, I would have bled out. But they worked on me for literally 14 hours and gave blood from their veins to mine. It was insane.
Tell me again, specifically, the guys for whom Dax is named. Is that who you're talking about now?
Well, I meant just like everybody in general, but the medics that worked on me, Daniel and Alexander, like Daniel Bates and Alexander Voice, like worked on me. And I was like, geez, what are we gonna name this kid? Because I want to name him Travis Mills, but apparently I'm conceited or some damn thing because everything's named after, like my Travis Mills speaking group is named after me, my foundation.
Your foundation,
whatever. Me in general. So Kelsey's like, we're not doing that. I'm like, whatever, bro. I'm awesome. And we named him DAX. So it's Dax after those two, Daniel and Alexander.
That's awesome. Now, is Chloe's name still festooned upon what's left of is it your left arm?
Oh, yeah. She's right there. I mean, you guys can't see it at home, but yeah, it's on my left arm.
I can see
I got the tattoo. Yeah. I actually, it's funny, in my documentary that's been out for a while, I'm in the movie, like, rocking her from old family footage. And that's the last day I actually held her, and the tattoo still is, like, shiny from the A&D ointment that I was putting on. So, yeah, I mean, I joke around and say that my wife's the best wife in the world because when it came time to, like, name my daughter, we thought, what do we name the sweet angel after 14 hours of labor? And my wife looked at me, and Kelsey, with a heavy sigh, was like, we have to name her Chloe Lynn, don't we? I was like, no, we don't have to. Why do you think that? And she said, well, because you idiot, you have your ex-girlfriend's name tattooed on your arm, so we named her after my ex-girlfriend. But obviously that's not true. My ex-girlfriend's name is the devil, and she's terrible. Because, like, I came home from college football for her, and she had a boyfriend I didn't know about, so I joined the military, and I got blown up because of her. I'm over it. I'm totally over
it. Sounds like it.
Pardon the interruption, but it's been a while since I reminded business owners that ZipRecruiter can change your life. I'm not overstating things. Never before have so many different types of businesses been so desperate to find and hire employees. If you're among these businesses, post a job for free at ZipRecruiter.com/row and watch what happens. Spoiler alert, you're probably going to get a quality candidate in 24 hours or less. That's what happens to 4 out of 5 businesses who post a job for free at ZipRecruiter.com/row. Why? Because when you post a job on ZipRecruiter, they send your job to over 100 different top job sites, giving you access to their network of millions of job seekers. Then, their matching technology scans resumes to find qualified candidates and proactively presents those qualified candidates to you. Then, and this is important, then you can invite your top choices to apply specifically for your job, which encourages them to apply faster. It's not that complicated. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/row. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ROWE. I've tried them. I like them. You will too. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. How important, because, when I look back on it, I don't think you and I have ever really had a conversation where you weren't laughing, like hard, about something. This is probably a stupid question or maybe just a leading one, but did you lose your sense of humor? If you did, when did you get it back? And how important is it to you today?
Well, I think it's everything. I think it helps people understand that we're okay to have conversations about my injuries. I joke around, tell people, like, it helps disarm the situation when I tell jokes because they're gone. But more importantly, for a while I was pretty bitter and angry, a couple of days, if you will. But then I realized, like, okay, I have to get better now. I didn't die, and I don't want to be in this hospital bed forever, and I got things I got to do. And I can remember being in the hospital, and I was in inpatient hospital for 5 weeks. So I got to move to an apartment after 5 weeks. Like I was healed up enough where I could be in a wheelchair and like sit in my own bed and stuff like that. And I remember one day, I watched a little girl walk by, and I thought she had passed, and all the nurses were doing their change on. I was looking at all the nurses at the nurse station, and I started yelling, "Oh my gosh, my arms and legs, where'd they go? I fell asleep and I had them, where'd they go?" And that little girl heard me, and she came peek back in. It was like, oh. I was like, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm just kidding." Oh my gosh, that's awkward. So I'm not so sure that I ever really lost my sense of humor. There were times where I was a little bit bitter about it, but when you really peel it back and you understand, like, the other way it could have went and the things that I would be missing out on if I had died, then it's pretty easy to be just grateful for every day and every moment that you have. And my slogan is never give up, never quit. And I really do believe that. And the only thing I need to work on is like we mentioned earlier, my diet, because you would think as motivated as I am, I could figure out how to stop putting food in my mouth. But let me tell you, when you own a cafe and you're like, "Hey, I'll take the salad." And they're like, "You mean the salad that has like bread on it and all the Philly cheesesteak stuff in it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that one. I'll take that one." So
I had a buddy who was a cop years ago who I had a similar conversation with, not about your diet, but just about this business of where the line is, whether it's a questionable joke. And he had been shot up a couple years earlier and got the highest award you can get for a cop. And I forget exactly how he put it. He kind of buried it in the middle of a sentence. But the gist of it was, Mike, there's a fine line in many cases between a hero and an asshole. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
And really, I just kind of dismissed it at the time. But in order to do what Jack Lucas did, to affirmatively throw yourself onto a grenade, that takes a certain kind of person, a jagged little pill, I dare say, who probably rubbed some people the wrong way once upon a time in their past, right? I mean, we have this tendency to think of our heroes as people who have been like ordained or somehow destined, or just these wonderful people who always do the virtuous thing. But from what I've seen of people who do like that kind of thing and that kind of moment, these are the people that wind up getting hit in the face in a bar from time to time.
Right? Yeah. I was wondering if you think Jack Lucas was like me. Was he like, oh, early retirement, there it is, and he went after it? I'm like, 20 years or just 6, and 6 sounded pretty good. So
but I don't. It's like we don't. Like when I look back at the stories of heroism from the Second World War, they all feel different to me than the stories I've read about from Afghanistan and Iraq and more recently. And I just wonder if that's because time, changes the way we process stuff, or if somehow people are different, if heroes are different, or if something else has changed. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's a gentleman that has a Medal of Honor for diving on a grenade, a Marine, Kyle Carpenter. He did that.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Dolon, if you know about him. And then also, if you talk to you ever see this show on Netflix, Outpost, a movie about Cop Keating and all that?
Yep.
Is it Ty? That's the one. If you talk to anybody, like Ty didn't get along with anybody. Even Dakota Meyer was not highly loved in his platoon, in the Marines there. But those are the guys that got Medal of Honor, because when push comes to shove, that's what you do. The guy that I went and rescued out of the Wadi bed, I mean, I didn't like that guy. Like, we weren't going to go drinking on the weekends together, but he was somebody that I would stick my neck out for, because he, red, white, and blue, he bled America, and that's what you care about. So yeah, I get what you're saying. And for me, there's a fine line. I get away with everything now. Being handicapped, I'll tell you what. I got pulled over the other day. Right, the cop pulls me over. I'm going 20 over, and I know I am, because I'm on my road, and I'm like, this should be a faster speed limit. That's my visual. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, it's not my fault that the speed limit is 35. It's your fault. It's not 55. Okay, fix it. Do you not know who I am? I have no arms and legs, and I get pulled over, and then the cop comes walking to the backside of my truck. And I'm on a hill. There's a construction crew doing a driveway. And then these cars are coming over this hill. It's very unsafe. And I put the window down. I say, hey, my house is up here. I'm not going to run, officer. Just follow me to my house quick. Just follow me up the road and come to my house. He follows me in. I pull up and I park. My seatbelt's off. My license is expired because it expired on my birthday. I mean, I got to get that fixed still. Don't tell anybody. But he walks up. And I'm like, hey, I got a call with History Channel. I'm trying to get Micro to get me a TV show right now. And it's in 10 minutes, so we got to hurry this up. He goes, hey, you're Travis Mills. I said, yes, I am. I said, my foot got stuck. I couldn't even feel it, and I apologize. But if you got to write me a ticket, it's okay. He goes, I like that you didn't use who you were, the whole time knowing I was using who I was.
You are. Yeah.
Yeah, and my driveway is like 1,500 or 1,600 feet up the driveway.
And it says Travis Mills Home right there, and a giant
says the
sign.
Travis Mills Foundation.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah. Well, no, I was at my house. It's a little different, but he's, no arms and legs to give me away. And he goes, oh, hey, well, it's okay. He took a picture of my license because I have to get it renewed. And it's funny, when I got my license the first time, it was $450. I couldn't believe how much a license for me cost. But $50, I failed. $400. You guys know what I'm talking about. Money buys everything. So I tell him I got to go. Then my watch goes ding. He goes, your meeting got pushed to tomorrow. I said, hey, my meeting got pushed, so we can actually, if you need to give me a ticket, I got time for it now. And he's like, no, we're good. And I was only going like 14 or 13 over, and he was like doing warnings. And I looked at him. I said, hey, do you want to see how fast I can go up this hill? He's like, what? I'm like, my driveway. You want to see how fast? I bet I can go about 55 up here. I've done it before, but you can't. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, well, it's my own personal driveway. I can do what I want, can't I? But And I'm
nightmare,
going to name
dude.
drop. Yeah, I'm the worst. No, I'm kidding. I respect all cops, and he was super nice, and he let me off because he was just doing warnings that day because the road was getting kind of fast.
But you got to put yourself in his place, right? He comes home after a long day's work, and his wife is like, "How was your day?" And he's like, "Oh, it's great. I gave Travis Mills a speeding ticket." And that's really it. That's what happened to me today. You know, who's going to give you a ticket, dude? How's that even possible?
So my dad talked himself into a ticket. The cops said, "You're on your phone, sir." My dad can't text and drive. Can't even walk and text. And my dad's like, "Well, I did check what the score to the Michigan game was." And he asked, like, "Okay, Google, what's the score to?" And the cop gave him a ticket. My dad's like, "You got to be kidding me. I wasn't in that." He was frustrated. Then I got pulled over one night going a little bit over the speed limit, and the cop got a picture with me at 10 o'clock at night and hopped in my truck. And I had my father-in-law jump out and get a picture. And I called my dad right away. "Hey, Dad, guess what I got for it?" He goes, "How much was it?" I said, "They let me off." And he goes, "I hate you." And then there's this whole thing. So I showed him the picture of the police officer on my truck. On the side. No, I don't want cops. I know everybody loves you and they listen, so I respect cops. If you guys pull me over, like, I'll take the ticket and I'll cry, and my mom Sherry will call you if you give me one. So
I love cops too, but I'll just say it: if any cops are listening and you do give Travis Mills a ticket, just send me a picture of it, because you'll be on the podcast next, and that's going to be an episode.
Here we go. Everybody's going to get me now. I don't blend in. I got no arms and legs. I'm in a small town. There's like 2,500 people where I live.
Hey, look, I want to come back and like hit this whole notion of a show again with a straight face. But is there anything else you wanted to say? Because you've been on here 45 minutes, and I know we can talk for like hours.
No, I mean, I appreciate your friendship, obviously, as well as if anybody wants to follow me on social media at SSG Travis Mills is the best. And I'm kind of TikTok famous, no big deal, whatever. But look me up. So just like hook a brother up. But no, hey, if you guys want to come to Maine, we have an open house at the foundation. Come walk through it, see the great work that Mike and his team did, as well as the work that my team does on September 12th. And if you guys are around for the gala 9/11, buy tickets. Eli Young Band's playing, and Mike Rose says he's going to make a guest appearance. Very exciting stuff.
Look, I'm going to do what I can. What do people need to know about the foundation that they don't? What do you need? I mean, I'm assuming money.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure we made it crystal clear. What your foundation is focused on men and women who have endured similar injuries as yours and their families, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for giving me the time to talk about it. I should be very crystal clear about what I do. I don't just take the money to the casino and try to double it. Okay.
Good.
I plan on tripling it.
Not anymore.
But yeah. But what we do is we bring out combat and service-connected injured veterans that have suffered physical injuries, and we have a retreat we built. In 1929, Elizabeth Arden, who was a cosmetic pioneer of her times, built this estate, and we bought it. We renovated it for like 2 years, and it was quite the renovation, like $2.5–3 million. And now we operate by bringing families, 8 families per week that have all been through, paralyzation, amputation, spinal cord injuries, something that happened in service. Doesn't mean it would happen overseas, but in service. And we show them how to do things adaptively, like kayak, archery, tubing, snowboarding, sledding. We have the Maine game wardens come out, like that Northwoods Law Show. Chris McCabe actually is one of the guys that comes out. Mm-hmm. And we have all these different activities, and we show them, like, you can still be active. You can still do stuff with your family. Don't live life on the sidelines. And we make sure it's all adaptive. And then there's a ropes course that Mike and his team built that we have a guy that went through in his wheelchair, and he did the whole thing in his wheelchair. No problem. Like, held on, very strong upper body. And, and I was like, "Oh, what a show off. Look at you in your hands." And, but we bring them out and we show them this ability that they still have, and we get them with other families that are like them. And now we also opened up a post-traumatic stress program because there's such a big need for that. And it's for the service members, called Warrior Path. It's out of Boulder Press Foundation. We get a big grant from them. And it's an 18-month course that really does, it's focused on post-traumatic growth. So we don't use the word disorder. We don't even use stress. It's post-traumatic growth. And anybody can sign up. It's for first responders too. They fit the bill. And it's free to come up. You have to sign up on your own. You get interviewed by my PATH program coordinator. And then 8 people come up once a month, and they go through this first intensive week of the program. And then the rest is like online and group settings. And it's making a huge difference in the world. And we're so grateful to have the opportunity to be part of post-traumatic stress as well as physical injuries too. So we cover all injuries, and it's about giving back, just doing what we can for those service members, especially the ones that maybe need a little extra push to know, hey, life's going to be all right, and you're doing great, and we appreciate all you've done, and we support you, and we're thankful, and we want to help you move on and have a very successful and meaning life.
Had your foundation existed when you got out of Walter Reed, What kind of impact do you think that might have had on you?
Well, that's the thing. So the reason it started was I was going on all these trips, and I got to learn how to downhill mountain bike. It took me up a 9,000-foot mountain in Mount Crested View, and they duct taped my prosthetic hands to the handlebars. They strapped me to a seat. They put a helmet on my head. They put the brakes to my thighs. And I mean, I've got a thigh master at home, so like, how am I going to squeeze that tight on a 9,000-foot mountain? Like, I'm not at home going like, and one, and two, like I don't. But I said, now what? And the guy said, don't die. And I said, what? And he pushed me down this mountain. And when I looked around on these trips, I was fortunate to go on with Walter Reed, which I'm very thankful for. I realized that the funding was for the service member, which it should be. And if you were injured like I was, usually triples and above, you had the ability to take what's considered non-medical assistance. So my wife, Kelsey, was there experiencing all this, great adrenaline rushes, these moments that I was like, I can still do this with my family. This is awesome. But then you got a guy that's, injured with a paper cut, like a below the knee amputation on one leg. Like, are you even hurt, bro? And they don't get to bring their families. You guys don't like that joke. Okay. So you got
to give your audience a chance to laugh, Trev. You're hitting us with a lot of very, very funny stuff. But
COVID did this to me. If you guys saw me in person, you get it. I pointed at my leg. But so they didn't get to bring their families, and that's fine. Like, the funding at the time was for the service member and as many as possible, and it needed to be there. But what I wanted to do was say, it's not just the service member, it's a family as well. Let's bring the whole family out. And we have spouses. This one lady was talking to another lady, and it's not all women are spouses. Like, there's women that are injured, they bring their significant, other. But this one lady was talking to another lady, and she said, I got to be honest, this is the first time that my husband this is the guy I married. He hasn't acted like this since before he deployed. Like, this is the man that I married, him being here and being free and open with everybody. And that was impactful enough just for that statement. And then you go back and do some research, and you find out he deployed 4 years prior to coming to our retreat. And him, being himself, like, that was the transformation he made there. And that's what the spouse took away from it. And then, they're like, this is the first time I ever got to go on a trip where everything was set up and catered to his injuries or her injuries. And I didn't have to overthink it or over worry. Kids are like, it's better than Disney World, and they're crying when they got to leave. And you're like, keep crying, the camera's on. No, I'm kidding. They're crying when they have to leave because they say it's better than Disney World. And no offense to Walt, he does a great job. But, that's how we measure success. And we have these veterans we had one gentleman that's a triple amputee, both legs, one arm is gone. The other one's like mangled up. And he's like, I can't shoot a bow and arrow. We're like, yes, you can. And we showed him we built the harness for him, and we were able to do that. And you know what? He was able to take the harness home, and he shoots in his backyard. Now it's one of his favorite things to do. So we're not only giving them 1 week that's great out of 52, we're giving them the ability to take these things home with them. And 52 weeks out of the year, they know they can still be successful and active with their society and families. And that's what we're going for. So that's a really long way of saying, hey, guys, donate to the Travis Mills Foundation. We're always going to do the right thing. I don't pay myself a dime, and I just want to keep giving back. And Mike Rowe believes in me. What else do you need to know?
And that's what I want to say is tell people, if somebody wants to give money to your foundation, where do they go?
Yep. So TravisMillsFoundation.org. You guys can get involved. You guys want to come volunteer. We have a lot of people doing that. We're just so thankful that people will help me champion this mission forward. We started out with a $5,000 donation from Kelsey and I, and now we've grown to one of the top veteran service organizations in the nation. And we're going to be able to operate 42 weeks out of the year with families, we believe, after we put this $6 million building in the ground that we're breaking ground on September 11th. And I'm beyond words with the support that I've gotten throughout the years with just my wife and I from, this small town, thinking like we're going to live a pretty normal life and having this happen, and then deciding we want to give back and do some good in the world. And people just want to, they just help me out, and I can't thank them enough.
Well, you may be beyond belief, my friend, but you are not beyond words. Trust me on that. Whatever else that IAD did, it did not impact your larynx or your ability to form thoughts and express them. Thank God. But look, it's impossible to compliment you really anymore. You've heard all the words, so I'm not going to drag you down the inspirational alley. But
I got time.
All right. Well, then I'll tell you this.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
I ran into some guys a couple weeks ago, and I actually made a video that I was going to send to you, but I didn't, because the guys in the National Flooring Association, do you know who these guys are? Like Carpet One.
Chris Izza?
Yeah. Right. So I meet him, and the Tunnels to Towers guys are there, and they're telling,
Frank,
yeah. Well, I know Frank.
Yep.
In fact, if it works out, I'm going to do something for them. They're doing a thing on September 11th, and I'm going to impersonate a narrator for
Aren't
some
you
of the
doing
stuff.
something on September 11th, Travis?
Yeah, I thought he had plans for.
Yeah, I thought he was coming by to see you. What's up with that?
I'm recording it tomorrow, and it's going on to a thing on September. Look, if I can get up there, I will. Believe me, I will.
My buddy Pete said he'll send a plane. I mean, you're golden. He wants you to come out this Wednesday, but you know what? I got his email for you. You're gonna look so good. I'm gonna send you his email.
You know what I'm doing this Wednesday? If we could just bring this back to me for a moment, ever so briefly.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm shooting this Wednesday the new promo campaign for Dirty Jobs, which is coming back in it looks like late October. Yes. Was that just a fist pump? Did you just do a fist pump with nothing but a shoulder?
Yeah, but you felt it and you knew what it was. But hey, that's amazing. Congratulations. Seriously. Truly, that's awesome.
Well, it's kind of tragic too. I mean, I'm older than I've ever been, and I'm still hanging on as tight as I can to that old format. The shows look great, and so I got to do a thing on Wednesday for that. But September 11th isn't till that's the following week, right?
Well, it's September 11th, so I think I think it's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, like the day after the 10th.
Yes.
All right.
Before the 12th.
What did I say earlier? There's a fine line between a hero and an asshole, but I think we finally crossed it.
You leave the door open. I'm sorry. If you go back when you listen this year, you'll be like September 11th. That's on the
that's on the 11th of September. Genius. I got it. And you know what? I think, Chuck, we also have the title: A Fine Line Between a Hero and an Asshole.
I love it. That's what I was thinking.
That's a good title for this one.
That's the way I heard it. So.
Hey, man, you're my friend, and it was nice of you to hop on here last second as we navigate our way toward the future of whatever podcast Landia holds for us. You know, I'll do whatever you need whenever you need it. I was dead serious before about that show. It's not a show, folks, about life on the foundation, although I'm sure that would be a piece of it. This is a show about the lunatic you've just heard living life, as Ernest Hemingway said, all the way up. This guy doesn't hold anything back. You may even say he goes out on a limb no matter what he does. And this new reality show, I know, Chuck, it wasn't bad.
Yes.
This new reality show has to happen. It has to happen. And I'm committed to doing whatever I can to get it on TV or whatever passes for the delivery system of the future.
I love it. And I know with that endorsement, I'm going to have a show. So in the spring, when we go full bore, you get the team up here, you're going to have the best summer of your life in Maine. I'm going to make sure of it. Because you can't narrate it just watching it. You got to be here and live it, and feel it.
I got to be there to do it.
Thanks so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy. So
I know I'm kind of a big deal, Trav, as people say. But what about our friend Mr. Cotton? Is Tim Cotton still doing his thing?
TC?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to steal his platform on his Facebook page because his Bangor, which is only 60,000 people, has like 300,000 or 400,000 followers. I'm going to steal that for the gala we have going on September 11th. I got 100 more tickets to sell. I'm going to use his platform and sell them. And he's going to be here. Then my brewery is going to be called the White Duck Brew Pub because he called that in the 1900s. And I'm going to take the Duck of Justice that Tim Cotton has made so famous and say that the White Duck's his brother. And I'm piggybacking on people's fame, you know.
Look what I got right here. This is Tim Cotton's book, The Detective in a Dooryard. I should be plugging yours, but I don't have it. And you know why? Because I got a letter from a kid about 4 months ago who was feeling sorry for himself and asked me, I think his parents asked me for some words of wisdom, right? He was in a hospital, all kinds of bad things had happened. And I'm like, I got nothing. I literally signed your book. I signed your name. I autographed your book with your name, but I also wrote that it was me who signed it. And I sent this kid your book. So that's a long way of saying I'm going to need another book from you.
You got it. I'm in the process of a new one too, based off resiliency. It's going pretty well. So it should. I don't think it'll be out this year, but probably July 4th next year at the latest. So I'm pretty fired up about it.
Come back on the podcast. I'll flog the hell out of it.
Appreciate that, sir. Man, you're a champion. I hope you have a great, fantastic rest of your day, and I just appreciate your time.
Are you kidding me, dude? Thank you for making time for us. We're huge fans. And is it still okay to say thank you for your service, or does that just get on your nerves?
Oh no, thank you for your service. I don't mind saying that to you. I mean, you have given back and done so much
not
for everybody.
me, genius. You.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I just had a bad day at work, but I do appreciate it, and thanks for the support.
A fine line, my friend. A fine line.
Oh, I took a line.
All right.
Yeah.
I miss you. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.